Okay, hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is a brand new channel. You have to excuse the lighting here. It's pretty late in South Korea, and right now I'm in my car, which is actually on the left side of the road. I don't know if you can tell that from the video, but yeah, yesterday's video was all about the reasons why, or some of the reasons why I actually left the UK way back in 2005. Now, I have been away from home for a total of 19 years, okay? This is pretty much my 20th year this year, so a pretty long time to be away from home. Now, no matter what, it still breaks my heart when I see what's happening to the UK, because it really is dying, okay? I think there's no denying that now. The country is a shadow of its former self, right? You know, just today I was reading a news report about, I'll just say a citizen of the UK, illegally or legally, whatever it may be, committed a crime, and because of human rights they were pretty much allowed to stay in the country. And these are just, that's just one of the small factors why I am thinking the UK is finished. You know, as a father of two children, how am I supposed to bring my girls home? And like I mentioned yesterday in the video, that also to get my wife home to the UK legally cost me an absolute fortune, and that's what the UK government are doing. They're obviously not supporting us British citizens, like me and like you if you're from the UK. And that's the most frustrating part, you know. I haven't really worked much in the UK, you know. I'm 42 years old, but when you think about 20 years away from home, that puts me back at the age of 22. I pretty much had part-time jobs. Yes, I did pay national insurance since the age of 17. You know, I had some part-time jobs in Asda, for example. So I've got about 5 years into the national insurance, but some people who are retired have paid into that for about 45, 50 years, 35, 40 years. And the goal was to get a pension. And what does the pension do? Well, the pension gives you security, right? When you retire, you feel secure, you've got money coming in from the government that you paid into, that you are due, right, as an old age pensioner in the United Kingdom. Well, I'm afraid the UK government don't even support their old age pensioners. And so if they're giving money to illegal immigrants, let's just say, okay, or immigrants in general, and it's not going to the old age pensioners, it's been taken away from them, how does it make British people feel? It pretty much makes you feel like you're the enemy, okay? You're the one that they don't care about, and it's the total wrong way around. It should be the British citizens first. Look at the British people that are homeless on the street right now, you know, that cannot get a place to sleep, cannot afford a place to sleep. Maybe there's no council housing, there's no housing available, there's no beds available, there's nothing available for British citizens who are on the street, freezing cold during the winter. Shame on you, British government, okay? Shame on you. And that's the point I'm making here, folks. When I say the UK is dying, well, it really is dying, and it's kind of being led to its slow death by those in power, okay, by the government, and whatever agenda it is they're trying to push. Clearly the British citizens are not at the top of that agenda, okay? Now this video here is kind of a preparation for yourself. I want you first of all to realize this, okay? Now, I'm not going to say I realized it completely 20 years ago that the UK was finished, because at that point it wasn't finished. It was a great place, you know, growing up when I was like 17, 18, 19 years old in the late 1990s. I was 18 in the year 2000, right, the millennium, when the world was supposed to stop. The UK was a great place back then, and there's no doubt about it. I had a lot of fun, but gradually it's gotten worse, and now it's at an all-time low, okay? So if you want to prepare yourself, what do you have to do? Well, first of all, you have to get your mindset right, okay? If you're going to leave the UK, then you're going to leave your family behind, okay, your loved ones behind, unless you're going to take them with you, which is quite difficult, I would say, to support that. So let's say you're leaving your loved ones behind. That is something you've got to face, okay? That is what I did, okay? So I have been home a few times in the last 20 years. The most recently was last winter, which was in January of last year. Yeah, I spent 4 wonderful weeks at home with my parents. A couple of weeks later, my dad died. Okay, so that's one of the hardest points about being away from home, is you're going to have to experience these kind of things. Now, do I have any regrets about leaving? Absolutely none. Okay, that's the truth. Absolutely none. If I am sitting in the UK right now at 42 years old, I feel like I'm kind of wasted. I've wasted my chance almost, right? Although 42 is not old, right? I don't think I seem that old. And maybe some of you are quite surprised I am 42. Maybe some of you are not surprised I'm 42. Maybe I look older. I don't know. But I have no regrets about leaving the UK. I can still go home and visit whenever I want, right? My children have British passports. They also have Korean passports. So my children are British Korean. My wife is Korean. Okay, so in my household, we speak Korean and we speak English. Both languages in the house. It was always my dream and my goal to take my kids back to the UK. But because of what's happening here in the UK, there in the UK, it's pretty much done for me. I'm going to keep them here in Korea. Now, just stop. I'm getting off on a tangent here. But the bottom line is get prepared, right? I've got a little paper here that keeps me kind of on track. So the emotional toll of leaving friends and family, that's a huge deal. When I went to the airport to leave to my year in Vancouver, Canada, it was not just a see you in 2 weeks, mom, see you in 3 weeks, mom. It was see you next year, right? Now, that's a pretty big step to make. When they leave the airport and you go through security, you're on your own. Now, that's how I traveled, absolutely by myself. I was young, I was single, I was full of life, I was scared, okay? But I was embracing the change because I knew at that point in the UK, with no job opportunities, with a degree, nothing there on the table. What's the point, right? I have to make a change, and that's what I did. So that's one of the hardest things to do, but trust me when I say this, if you go through your life always choosing the easy option, if you go through life being scared all the time, then I'm afraid you're never going to change, and you're probably going to be about 70, 75 years old, sitting back in your chair and thinking about all the things you should have done, okay? Do it now while you can. It doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, 60s, even 70s, if you have the courage to do it and you have some sort of financial support behind you, do it. That's my opinion, because nothing is going to get better back home in the UK. That's the way I see it. Things are probably only going to get worse. And that's a real shame, okay? So the emotional toll of leaving your family, that's a huge thing that you have to prepare yourself for. Now, that's a mental thing, okay? All right, moving on to my second point, which is starting over, right? If you go to a new country, nobody knows who you are. You have to open bank accounts, right? Get a new mobile phone, get almost a new identity, introduce yourself, get a new circle of friends. Everything will be like the first day at school, the first day at work. That is probably the scariest part of all. Now, when I went to Vancouver for a year, I stayed in a hostel for 3 months. Not a hotel, a hostel. And the great thing about a hostel is it's pretty much full of people just like me back then, right? Who are traveling alone, or who are young, who are middle-aged even, right? And they are simply on a journey to learn a new culture, cheap accommodation, right? Because most of the time when you travel, you want to save your money for adventures, and you also got to save your money to look after yourself for food and stuff like that. So yeah, a new start completely in a new country, that's really scary to do. But again, it's something you can do, right? I've done it. Nothing's impossible in this world. And you have to do a little bit of research, right? Look into the country that you want to go to. Maybe it's Australia, maybe it's Canada, maybe it's America. Maybe you want to teach just like me. Maybe you want to come to Southeast Asia. Maybe you want to go Japan, to South Korea. You know, there's plenty of countries here. Vietnam, Hong Kong, all of these places you can go to. Maybe you want to go to the Middle East, all right? So there's so many options available. Europe, right now, I think Europe is probably going the same way as the UK. There's a lot of issues in Europe too. I know the Western world is having a lot of problems. I know America, I know Canada, I know Australia has these issues too. But in my opinion, the UK, as a British citizen, is almost like we're the enemy. As a British citizen in Australia or America or Canada or somewhere else, we're not the enemy, okay? We're the guest. There's a big difference there. All right, so mentally prepare yourself for starting over. Mentally prepare yourself for leaving family and friends. Now, when I left the UK back in 2005, there was not a lot of social media, okay? There was Facebook, it was pretty new. And I joined Facebook just for that reason, to stay in touch with loved ones back home. My best friends, my parents, my family. There was Skype, right? That's what I was using. There was no FaceTime back then. Skype was a great thing to call back home, okay? And I usually call back home once a month. Now you're probably thinking, Paul, why did you call home only once a month? Well, if you watched my first video, you'll realize the story of me being the black sheep in my family, in the country house, all alone, far away from everybody else. That kind of mentally set me up, okay? That's the kind of mental preparation that you need, and luckily I got that. Obviously it wasn't supposed to be like that, but it happened, right? And I dealt with it. So yeah, mentally you got to prepare yourself for change, okay? Now, identity crisis, cultural clashes, right? Going into a country that maybe feels totally different, maybe you feel like you've got no roots. Well, of course. Now, if you're asking me about, Paul, what kind of roots do you have in the UK? I pretty much just got my mum, okay? Me and my brother and sister don't really see eye to eye. That could be another video, okay, another interesting video about that kind of thing. Families and, you know, kind of like arguments and stuff like that. But the only person really I've got back home is my mum, okay? So my father passed away last year. So there's just my mum back in the UK. That is my family root, okay? That is the only reason for me to go home. And of course, I miss her, and I will try to see her soon. But it costs a lot of money to go home, okay? I'm now married with 2 kids, so I'm spending around about maybe £3,000, £4,000 just for plane tickets to go home. So I cannot do it every year, right? But it's something you can maybe try and do once every 3 years, you know, if you can afford to do it, you know, save some money and do it. But yeah, identity crisis, no roots. For me, it's just my mum. But hey, we're all grown up, right? We've got to be adults at some point. Make your roots anywhere you want. Just because you have that British passport doesn't mean you have to make your roots in the UK. And right now, folks, roots are being torn up, okay? It's almost like there's a weed killer, there's pesticides everywhere, and it's destroying the British culture, right? The roots are being rotten to the core. Well, actually, the roots of the British government are rotten to the core. And that's, I'm afraid, who governs the UK. As long as we're governed by any sort of party, in my opinion, I think we're in trouble, right? And we've got no say, yeah, it's almost like there's no democracy. Anyway, I'm not going to get into this, right? But the point I'm trying to make is you will probably feel like you're lost, okay? Now, you're going to be lost for quite a while when you get to a new country. When I first went to Korea, I immediately went to the middle of the street, put my hands out, breathed in the air, which may not have been really clean. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in Korea. I'm in Asia, right? It was my first time in Asia. And for me, it was a breath of fresh air, and it was awesome. And I loved every single minute. And I've been here ever since. Okay, so that's a long time for me. All right, moving on to the next one. Missing familiarity. Am I saying that right? Hopefully. Daily routine, home comforts. Well, daily routine is something I didn't really miss back in the UK. Generally, I was working split shifts in the UK. I was doing a part-time job. I was studying at the time before I left. But also, I was doing the trap that many British citizens get into, right? You work the whole week. Maybe you're studying the whole week. You are going out at the weekend for drinks at the bar, at the nightclub. You're spending a lot of money to do the same thing every weekend, which pretty much means you're drinking, you're hungover, and you repeat, right? And the whole week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're just like, please let it go fast. I'm looking forward to the weekend. That's a trap, folks. That is a trap. That's going to affect you physically and mentally. And that's something that you probably, in my opinion, you should change, because that is pretty much a British culture thing, in my opinion. And it's like, you're looking forward to the weekend so much, but obviously it goes so fast, and especially when you're drinking and hungover, it goes even faster. And the next minute you know it, it's Monday. It's a very depressing thing, right? Now, don't get me started on the weather either, right? The weather in the UK is pretty depressing too. But familiarity, how about your British food? That's something I still miss to this day, okay? Fish and chips, you know, shepherd's pie, mince and tatties. If you're from Scotland, you'll know what I'm saying. Haggis, there's nothing wrong with haggis, right? It's a nice British style food, Scottish style food. I miss square sausage, something really simple as that. Iron brew. I cannot find it in Korea, right? You can't get it here. If you want to get it, you can get it off Amazon. It's going to cost you a fortune. And I don't really miss it that much, okay? But yeah, things that you get back home, it's not easily available. But you know, now we've got Amazon, right? You've got different websites. It's a changed world. Back in 2005, 2006, when I first went, it was a little bit more difficult, okay? So yeah, get ready for that. Now, maintaining long distance relationships, if you have a partner, if you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever it may be, if you're married and you're going to go first without your partner, it's going to be tough, it's going to be challenging. If you are a single parent, for example, let's say your children are with your wife or your husband and maybe you're separated, that's obviously going to be very difficult for you going abroad and trying to keep in contact. Or if you're just single like I was back then, right? You are free and easy, but still you got your best buddies, right? Your best friends. You've got your family, the people that you get strength from, support from. These are the people that kind of pull you up when you're feeling down, okay? So when you're in that dark place, when you're feeling lonely, and you're kind of thinking, I want to go home. That's the times when the long distance relationships really help, okay? So these days with social media, with FaceTime, I don't know, is Skype still a thing? I don't have a clue. WhatsApp is something I use a lot with my mum. This pretty much means you're kind of like not that far away from each other. The only thing is you can't meet them, you can't see them, okay? But yeah, look, you know, it is what it is, right? If you choose to go, you got to go the whole way. And so I think long distance relationship, for me it was once a month, maybe for you it's every day. Some people that I work with still call home once a week, you know, so everyone's different. Letting go of what ifs, okay? This is a pretty big one. What if, okay? What if? What if I go there and it all goes wrong? Well, you're never going to know until you go. That's what I would say. Something that I talked about in the first video and something that I actually teach my students. I'm a university professor here in South Korea. My students are pretty much 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. They are undergraduate students, pretty much engineer students. And they need some confidence, right? They're young, they're going out, they're almost out in the big bad world here in Korea, which is very fierce for job opportunities, a lot of competition here. But what I always say to them and what I would say to you as a viewer listening to this video, watching this video, is this is just how I did it, okay? But I would recommend you do it too, to make yourself stronger, to test yourself. Always go the hard way in life. Never ever choose the easy option, because the easy option is pretty much boring in the most part. It is same, right? SSDD, same, different day. It is something that's not going to improve you in the long run. It's just going to make you weaker. It's going to make you lazy. Always try and go for the harder option, right? So if you've got the straight road to get to point B, or you've got this winding road, this up and down hills and mountains to point B or to point C, take it. Because trust me, when you get to that destination after taking the hard way there, now I'm talking about life here in general, you'll be a lot more prepared, a lot more stronger. You will be more mature, more open-minded, and you'll be ready for any challenge that comes in your path. So that's what I always recommend to my students. You know, push for the stars, reach for the stars, right? Push that envelope, right? As my channel is kind of called. You need to grasp life with two hands. Now remember in the first video I said YOLO, right? You only live once. I'm not saying that to be crazy. I'm not saying that to do, you know, things like extreme sports and bungee jumping like I mentioned. I'm saying that to kind of view your life as a once in a lifetime opportunity. This may be the only time that you're going to have not really the choice to go, but you're kind of being pushed to go. So it's kind of like you are in an area here where it's, you know, it's do or die almost. It's like you're going to do it now or you're not. My advice to you all is do it. Get the courage and do it. Leave, choose your destination, and just never look back. All right. So that's my advice. Would be, you know, always choose the hard way. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be hard, but what it means is you're going to get the best sort of experience out of it. Let's talk about weather. Okay, weather's a big thing in the UK. Something that I really don't miss. When I travel back home to Scotland, I fly into Glasgow Airport, and the first thing that you always know when you're back in Scotland is the grey skies. Now, the grey skies are extremely depressing, especially when you are coming from a country with a tropical climate, okay? Now, Korea has very, very hot summers. The winter is freezing cold, and right now it's winter time. What is the temperature? I think it's about -2 right now. It's not bad, but 2 or 3 nights ago it was -16, and I'm just about to go up the mountain. So I actually go up the mountain by myself. Maybe one day I'll take the camera with me and just video that. Now, that could be interesting, right? Having a little chat to you in the mountain all by myself in the pitch black, right? So yeah, that's just one of the things that I'm talking about, right? I'm pretty much a lone wolf, folks, but I'm a social person too, so I'm kind of like introverted and extroverted. I get a lot of satisfaction being by myself, but also with other people, right? Now, that is also something you're going to have to get used to when you travel. A lot of the time I've traveled by myself, solo traveling, okay? I've been to countries like China, like Hong Kong, like Japan, like Malaysia, like Vietnam. I've been throughout Europe, all by myself, okay? So these are lonely times, you know, especially when you're in a restaurant and everybody's sitting having a laugh, a few drinks with a table of 4, and you're all by yourself. But these are the things that make you stronger. That's the way I see it, right? It's too easy to be with friends all the time. And if you're going to travel to a new country, if you are really, really scared, take a friend, right? For 3 weeks or 4 weeks, take a friend with you. And after 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to go home, but you're going to stay. All right. So that's my advice. This video was pretty much a little bit of advice on preparation. Now I've been there and I've done it. Okay. So I would like to give back to people. If I can help you at all in your journey or in your current state, just let me know. It's a new channel, right? So we're trying to get these views, we're trying to get subscribers, we're trying to get the channel moving, because right now it's not really moving. So yeah, a subscription, maybe subscribe and like the video would obviously help. But to be honest with you, the most important thing is you listen or you watch this video and you get something from it. That's my whole point, and that's my whole goal, to try and help people. Right folks, I'm out. I've got to go back up the mountain, so I'll catch you later. Take care of yourselves, okay, and do your research. I'll get in touch with you soon. See you later. Bye.